Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in our episode today, we're going to start out by re-questioning those suspicious witnesses that are trying to peg this crime on Gina. I mean, they're criminals. How much can they seriously be trusted? Especially when we legitimately already caught them in lies. Well, let's go ahead and hop in and see what kind of tricks we can pull out of our sleeve. Hello, hello. What are we going to be doing? Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. Oh boy. Yeah, y'all are sweating bullets now, aren't you? And he's just like, why do I have to be here? Like, seriously. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. Or Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, whoops. Core, blimey. This is going to be hard work. Oh boy. Alright. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as it weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. And we caught you in it. You brothers. Core, blimey! On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? They're like saying the opposite things. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. See, I can't help feeling that maybe he's not all that much of a bad guy, but I feel like there's forces at play here that we don't know about. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. They're just like, oh no. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Goblin. We hear ya. We'll bob, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Oh boy. What lies can we catch them in now? Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? It made us both jump and all the stuff went flying. Lumia didn't have to give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We'd never even had a chance, did we? Don't know about that. So you admit the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tied it up, yeah. He's like, why am I dealing with idiots? Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. Well, you say it. We hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windibanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Of course there is. Alright, let's see if we can pull up the lies. Alright. Cross-examination time? Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Let's see if that's true or not. Let's press you. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. I don't think you have to admit to that for people to think that, my guy. Well, said Ringo, me old China, we'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. That's rotten luck, says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. I don't think so. Sorry. Okay, the next one. That was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. But it was all exactly as it was, but slightly shifted. So what you're saying is the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey, me dad granny would have woken up to that bang. Big bruv there screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You've really mastered working quietly then. What a racket! Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quite as much, and then all of a sudden, bam. Alright, so we have somebody that is disagreeing with this. Let's see. Let's pursue.
Excuse me.
He's aggressively eating his chips. Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony? You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about just tell us what's on your mind? I mean, that'll help a lot. As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Uh-huh, 'cause you're lying. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shouting something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it, yeah. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Me? Right you are, Gov. And just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!"
Hold it!
Alright, let's find out whose voice that was. So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously? We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose, if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Bam. Kind of thing. A career in acting tragically missed. Alright. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank. Ah, me granny's life, course it was. On his granny's life, course it was. So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice. So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. They're sweating bullets again. No, we didn't know the geezer. I must bust in the night when that bloke in all the fancy clubbers giving us the evil eye. If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. Oh, me granny's life it is. On his granny's life it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. I mean, you agreed. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset items on the counter, scattering them on the shop floor. And make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tied it up like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it, the bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Lumia didn't give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter would come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black.
Hold it!
I think I missed a press. We'll have to go back. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah, we was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss, good advice. Truth be told, my mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street. But apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or something, so they clapped the dobbies on us like winking. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, doesn't it, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? Is that true? And why should we believe that? Eh? What? Well, 'cause it's truth, isn't it? The place was totally empty when we went in it. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. I don't know about that. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windibank. Correct? You've got it, mister! Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windibank? Is that really true, I wonder? I don't know about that. That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony? What is it, Bruno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh, but I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It's nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement in their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. But what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Hold it! You're saying that Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? The two waving them guns at each other must got it pretty heated. I mean, just before he shot it out, we heard the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant it, mine. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. But there was only one gun found back there. If they both had guns, something not right here. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course. Good grief! Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Wow, it certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. But he wished he'd squeeze the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun!" And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot? That was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bam! Kind of thing. Yes, a career in acting. Yes, very tragically missed. Okay. So, then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place up. Something is definitely off here. Look, man, it didn't have to give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter come out of the door and get us next. Hold it! Did we press on this? So you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way that was opening. Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov. It was, from the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? That's not true, unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like through the keyhole, or a spy hole, perhaps. Don't ring no bells, no light, no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. Hey, Math, welcome in. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day, we'll really cut the mustard. Please cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately, Gina was in there, unconscious, with the gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov, that's right! Couldn't have, even if we wanted to. Did they, though? We struck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. Okay, so we need to find the state we can present that to, right? The statement. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker. See, we never even had a chance, did we? I think they must have. Okay, so this is the statement that we want to try and present for, right? Hopefully we're right. We're running out of options. Let's try this one.
Objection.
Let's see. So you're saying, and we got it right, nice, that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Winterbank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You got the picture. It has, Nash. It has. No question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Winterbank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection.
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Winterbank's gun was found at the scene. But they said they both had guns, right? Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. But if they were facing each other down, he wouldn't have been shot in the back. Yeah, that Moltola used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Now they reenact it again. Bam. Kind of thing.
Hold it.
Except for they can't. That's not what... Stay exactly where you are. Right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Exactly. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Okay, so we don't have like a coroner's report, right? We just have, or maybe we do, let's see. Let's look at this. Does it say shot in the back, right? Single bullet wound in the upper half of victim's back. No other visible signs of trauma. Instant death from a posterior anterior bullet wound to the heart. The bullet entered the body from the back on a gently rising diagonal trajectory. That's it. That's it exactly. All right, we present the autopsy report. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me the gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yeah, of course there is, because you're a big bunch of liars. But it's the God honest truth. No? It is, Nash, it is. When it was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Winterbank holding a gun. I mean, y'all said you didn't see Mr. Winterbank. What? Something like that might have slipped out. I mean, you literally testified earlier that you'd never seen him. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, The Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Yeah, I mean, that's why you don't lie. You get caught in your lies. Order, order, order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witnesses would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replace the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bluff, come on, the game's up. But our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do you have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. He's gonna, like, personally murder them. Alright, encounter with the victim. Here we go. Take 3. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. Why, old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. Okay. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense. You may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. All right. Did they say that he took his gun? That can't be right. If I remember hearing that right. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the old geezer showed his mug. Hold it. When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank? Oh, sorry. I mean, that's right. Wait, let's keep a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was going to come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery's storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So, it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Jenny must have been in there at that point as well. Maybe she was in there legally. That doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Exactly. I think she was in there at his okay. Like, maybe it was to make up for stuff. I don't know, but maybe he was okay with her presence there. Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What, that mole tulip? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobber. We have bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed. Then he threw at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. Hold it. You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel, yeah, pointed straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is, spot on. Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did. It was Bedlam. I didn't know who was gone for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we had it. I mean... But old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He ejected me over the counter. That's why all the stuff fell, right? Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah, of course we did. It knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame? What knocked them scales on the floor? So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Brother went flying over the counter like a gunshot, I can tell ya. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled me gun on him, then he legged it through that door into the back room. Hold it! Really? Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? No, never. I was just, you know... Look out for me, bruv, weren't I? It was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. And there's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my bruv here... That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and me bruv here... We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went in and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was, 'cause we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one, good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So, in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Except it doesn't. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could have possibly shot the victim. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windibank? There has to have been. There had to have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Eh? What? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windibank, and it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. I mean, obviously, because we don't think she did it. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts, so pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you all right, Runo? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Okay, so where would they have fired the gun from? Do we think these two doofuses did it? It would have been like an amazing... Unless he shot him as he was running in. So we think it's going to be like somewhere over here, right? Because, I mean, it has to be, right? He would be right here. He pulled a gun. So he pulled a gun. The pawn, this is behind the counter. So maybe he was like, they knocked stuff over, right? He pulled a gun, knocked him over the, no, he knocked him over the counter, right? And they pulled a gun and he was running into the storeroom. He was going to lock it. So I think the person who fired the gun was right here, right?
Take that!
Alright. The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. Okay. And an answer to the second question. Assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? So he would have just gotten inside, right? He wouldn't have had a chance to turn around and close the door, right?
Take that!
So let's see. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you're adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him that he legged it through that door into the back room. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah. It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. All right. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. So he was on the ground, right? Poor man, Shaba was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would have still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? No, Gina did that. But what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel, present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? Well, Gina did, right? She didn't want to get shot. Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? She didn't want to get shot. I mean, he just got killed, right? Yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Yeah. Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yeah, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv! If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. And then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life. Hold it. But I mean, We ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we never shoot no one. That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, your brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murder. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not... An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. Uh-oh, time to pour your blood and then throw it against the candle. I dare say. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. I don't know how to pronounce that word. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw. Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zieks. Might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. There we go. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets? Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Only one gun in the pawnbroker... only one gun was fired out of his revolver. Counsel. Yes, sir? Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. Two bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. That was the one in the calendar? Okay. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are two firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these two brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if a single bullet was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Windibank not shot by same gun. Stop! Only one bullet. Stop! Exactly. Yes, the Sniffany street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick, with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Ugh. Ugh. We're back to square one again. Order! 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 He's like, I'm done with all this. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zeeks! But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. They're getting mad. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That's the disc. That disc. We can analyze the blood on it, right? I'll be taking whatever is of Magilda's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, it is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to Magilda has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. Magilda's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious! Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets the fact at its peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a grim testament to the defendant's character. Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson? What? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Has the fluffy been fed? Go for it. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. All right, we've got the music box disc, and we need to check that bloodstain for sure as soon as we're able to. The prosecution has established the accused motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. He's gonna bow. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. They're all gonna say guilty, and we're gonna have to question them again, right? I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. My lord, Wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, answer's probably obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 Of course.
Guilty.
Of course.
Guilty.
Everyone's declaring guilty. Of course. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, you and the other jurors ready? Garradeb Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Oh boy. So we'll listen to what they have to say. Alright, so the jurors' contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined the simple operation would cause me such grief. You're not even paying attention. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. Okay, that explained nothing. It would seem there's little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. Ugh, the whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair, Iris. That prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Yes, allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. Indeed, it will eventually come out. Indeed. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Slap your face. Yes, my lord. Alright, gotta slap your face to wake you up. The jury examination. Defense's rebuttal. But we're going to stop there. Alright, so that is going to be where we will pause it. I hope that you enjoyed this one. We got a little bit stuck there, but we finally managed to get through it in the end. I hope that you like this kind of content. And if you do, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/thehour27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games I'll be playing each day, I post them on twitter.com/thehour27. And I hope you join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.